Hello, good afternoon. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and start putting those questions in the comments now. I have fabulous news. Once again, we have gotten an approval, a VAWA 10-year green card approval. We're so happy. Our client waited about 3.5 years to get this, and now it's here. It came in the mail. So, guys, once again, this is proof that they are still considering applications for approval when it's done correctly, when we're persistent, when we put solid legal work into that process. Our clients succeed, and here we have it again. So I know this is a time where a lot of people are afraid to move forward because of the climate. However, even under this climate, our client was approved. Under this administration, they still made a decision, and it was a decision in favor of our client. And we're getting multiple of these types of applications. But what I would say, what I would caution you is going forward, it's essential to make sure that your applications are done properly. You understand all the procedural steps, all the legal implications. You make sure that you go ahead and protect yourself before moving forward with the process. All right. So put your questions in the comments, everybody. Now, let me tell you more about this situation. So if you're experiencing this, you can also be able to apply for this. So if you are here, in this case, our client was married to a US citizen and they were supposed to be attending the interview. However, this person and the approval was after an interview as well. So this was after an interview and our client still got approved, right? Now, keep in mind, adjustment of status applications, most of them are going to have interviews now. That's our reality. But most of our applications are still, we're getting, with VAWA, we are still getting approvals, right, after they've considered it. And in some cases, keep in mind, VAWA is one step. Your VAWA petition is approved at one step, and then the green card is approved. So when they are doing interviews on some applications for the VAWA, not every application. However, once you get through that stage and it's approved, they process you for the green card at the adjustment of status process stage. At the adjustment of status stage, you can expect an interview. However, even within an interview process, you can get their approval, and our client is proof of this. So, guys, keep moving forward. That's why I say be solution oriented, because that's how you're going to succeed in anything. In anything you do, being solution oriented is the way to go forward. And here we have remained solid in our resolve to help people to get to their status. We have depended on what is in the law, what are the laws, what are the current policies, and how does our clients qualify under the current policy. So keep pushing, and we would love to do this with you. So give us a call. Now, in this case, let me tell you about this situation so that you can, if you can relate to this, give us a call as well. So this client was married to a US citizen who basically abandoned her after mistreating her in the process, abandoned her right when she was supposed to attend the interview. And what we did was we went ahead. This is usually an urgent situation, but we went ahead. We contacted immigration at the USCIS, let them know that our client is now applying for VAWA, and asked them to put the case on hold until we can get a decision on the VAWA petition. We moved quickly. got that done. And because of that, our client has not just deferred action, her 10-year green card, right? So in these cases, you often don't have an option. You have to take action quickly to apply on your own in this confidential process. This is what our client did, and now she's a 10-year green card holder with the ability to apply for citizenship in 3 years. 3 years, she can apply for citizenship. So we're happy. I'm so glad that I'm able to go into the weekend with this great, great news. So once again, I know you are listening, you're watching to see what's going on with these applications. And then on top of that, we are getting tons of receipt notices. Even though they are taking 3 months, we are getting tons of receipt notices coming in. So even though the processes are slightly delayed, or I shouldn't even say slightly, they're, delayed, it's still happening. It doesn't mean that they're not considering applications, because we are now getting biometrics notices and receipt notices, right? After about 3 months is when the receipt notices are coming right now. Hopefully that will improve as the USCIS gets into the groove of their own processes. All right, so let me go ahead and answer questions. I'm going to start on TikTok, and then I'm going to move my way over to Instagram. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments now. Hello, Marcia. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you on YouTube, Facebook. Nice to see you. Hello on Instagram. I'm seeing everybody logging in, and I am seeing questions. So put the questions in the comments so I can answer your questions. All right. So TikTok. How long brother and sister takes from 2011? So right now the processing times is 14 years. If your sibling is in the United States, they have to look at other options. I'm just going to be straight with you. This is likely not going to be the process. I mean, under very, very narrow circumstances, will they be able to move forward? If they're here, they've overstayed their status, but they're waiting for a petition to, or the process to be completed, is 14 years. And now, since if they've overstayed and they're here in the US, they will not be able to move forward with it unless they do qualify for a waiver. So this is where I say there are always exceptions, but it's unlikely. But in these cases where we do see situations like this, we still ask questions that then open up the door to other options for the sibling or the person that can't qualify for adjustment of status. So get in touch with us. Can I bring a copy of my petitioner citizenship certificate to my consular appointment for residency? It depends on the specifications of the embassy. Sometimes they're very strict. If on the list they said you must have the original, then it likely means you must have the original. The embassy will provide their specific requirements. Some of them may require copies, some of them may require the originals. So I can't advise you, if your interview is tomorrow and there's no way you can get that certificate over to you before the interview, then at that point you don't have any choice. You have to go to the interview with a copy. But make sure that if you are preparing for that interview, that you do look at the instructions. What we do when we are preparing our clients for the consular processing interview, we look through that checklist specific to the embassy, and then we go ahead and prepare an entire packet, prep our clients on it, and then we also include original documents, or we go ahead and instruct them to make sure that that document is in the packet if we can't put it in directly. All right. Can I revoke my VAWA and remarry? that if strategically, if that makes sense, it's possible. Now, keep in mind that I would say this: why would you want to do that? I know remarrying may feel like a faster process, but it really comes down to personal circumstances. Strategically, if that makes sense, you that can be done because once you get married, you no longer qualify for VAWA anyway. So keep that in mind. Is a consular processing interview easier than an adjustment of status interview? So I would, the experience is slightly different. With adjustment of status, for example, marriage based, the both of the spouses have to be there. With a consular processing, sometimes they may ask the spouse to be there, sometimes the spouse doesn't have to be there. Most times the spouse doesn't have to be there. So I would say consular processing is much faster with consular processing, based on my experience of seeing it, you usually have to do it's very much like going into it feels like a bank. You go into you don't get to go into a room with the officer. The officer is on very restricted time in the consular context. And so everybody's in this waiting room, and then they have a glass, they're behind the glass, a counter, and then they will call you up. And when you go up there, you walk up there in front of everybody, and they're basically asking you questions through the glass. And, I would say it's maybe 5 to 10 minutes long. They ask you very pointed questions and then make their decision or let you know whether you qualify or if there's anything else they need. So in that respect, it is different. Now, if you are doing it in adjustment of status, you're called into the officer's office. So it's more private. And I would say it's a lot, it can be longer. You can expect to be in there 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Sometimes in the cases where they're really honing into the interview, it can get intense and you can be in there for 2 hours. I would say that in adjustment of status, the difference also is with consular processing, they have already decided that the marriage is bona fide before you even get to the interview. Unless there's some new information, the officer already knows, okay, the relationship is bona fide. You've shown that. Now, I'm just trying to decide whether you're admissible to the United States, because consular processing is when you're outside of the United States. So the officer is less focused on fraud. I mean, they're still looking out for any inconsistencies because they can always send it back to revoke a petition if they suspect fraud, but they're more focused on admissibility issues. Did you have any arrests? Do you have any past immigration violations that disqualify you from entering the United States? In the context of the adjustment of status, in many cases, they have not yet approved the I-130. The interview is going to help them to decide whether they're going to approve the I-130 and whether you're admissible. So, in the adjustment of status process, it's a lot more involved. With the consular processing, they're focused more on admissibility, still watching out for any issues like that. And also admissibility issues, affidavit of support, they're stickler on both ends for affidavit of support. But you're not going anywhere if you don't have that affidavit of support at the consular processing, if you don't have a qualifying affidavit of support. All right, let me still go through your questions. Is an approval still possible? Absolutely. We're getting those. So we just got one today. I'm married and have work permits and SSN and have baby also, but no, he don't want to help me. I'm so sorry that's happening. Give us a call. This is exactly what we help with. If your spouse does not want, you don't trust your spouse to move forward with the process, don't wait until something bad happens, like they refuse to go to the interview with you. Call us, let's talk. It's a confidential process. If you're whether you're with your spouse or not, it's confidential. And that could be your hope forward. Do not hide in the shadows. Don't think that you can't do this without your spouse, because our brave clients who've gotten their papers is a testament to the fact that it can be done. And in many cases, our clients that now are happy with their 10-year green cards, they felt like they had no choice, right? And here they are now happy. It's well worth the jump, the leap of faith that they took. What can be done if my friend don't have enough evidence and USCIS requested for I-485 through VAWA? So they need to get assistance. Sometimes you may look at that, when you get a request for evidence, it may feel daunting at first. And in some cases, guys, keep in mind that I've had cases where we've gotten a really request for evidence that's very detailed. They want so much information. We've had people who have come to us, they've attended the interview. The officers didn't believe their marriage was real because of how the interview went. They issued them a request for evidence to show more. And by the time we've gone through the petition, we've been able to point out to the officers that based on case law, based on past cases, that the evidence that our clients did submit is sufficient. And in sometimes what happens is we will look at the request for evidence and then we'll ask the client to see what did they submit. And it turns out the evidence they submitted is just maybe the document, it wasn't done correctly. Like, for example, affidavits may not have been done correctly. And so the officer did not accept those as evidence. They disregarded those. But when documents are drafted properly, like certain affidavits, then the officer can accept it as evidence, and that can make the difference in the request for evidence stage. So at this point, don't give up, get help, because a request for evidence can seem daunting. But in many cases, they're issuing that request for evidence because they're giving you a chance, right? They're giving you a chance, and you need to rise to the occasion to be able to show it. And sometimes it's a matter of knowing the law. What can be done if let's see, I've put my VAWA application in since May and no receipt as yet. Yes, this is happening. 3 to 4 months now is how long petition receipt notices are taking. Now, what I say, since these receipt notices are taking so long, make sure you're sending it by courier, FedEx, USPS, so the post office. Make sure you're tracking it. You get proof of delivery so you know it's there. If you have to communicate with them because maybe you still haven't gotten a receipt notice, you can have the proof that it was delivered and signed off by an officer. My mom applied 2015. Approval came in 2020. How long more is the wait? It depends on what your mom applied for. The petition. So petition, if your approval came in 2020, it's going to depend on your priority date as well. What, um, Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it. Thanks for the love. If you want to be able to get more people on the live, just to get information that empowers them, give them a chance to ask questions, tap on the screen, like, subscribe, follow, in order for others to see and be able to join and get information and be able to ask questions as well. And bear with me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I am coming. I'm just answering questions on the other side first. After biometrics, how long for BFD work permit, it is based on the time you filed. So I would say BFDs, after you get the receipt notice, about 2 to 3 months after that. No, BFDs for U visas, I would say a year and a half to 2 years. What's the time frame for IR1 interview at Guatemala, documentarily qualified, 2/11/25? So, based on my observations just around the globe, it seems that processing times at embassies have become ridiculously long. So, I would say expect a year to 2.5 years wait period just to get the interview. Yes, even after you're documentarily qualified. For the T. So, but yeah, so BFD, so it's taking about 3 to 4 months to get the receipt notice. Then I would say about another 2 to 3 months to get the BFD after biometrics. And then so biometrics, you could expect biometrics in about 2 months, and then after that, about 2 months after that, expect the BFD, and then about 6 months after that, you can expect the work permit. So 4 to 6 months after that, the work permit. It is processing times now have gone up for the T visa. So it's over 18 months now, an average of 22 months. But they are issuing work permits and bona fide determination letters in the meantime. Here's why the bona fide determination letter is essential in the T visa context and the U visa as well. This allows people to, it basically puts a stay on removal, meaning individuals cannot be removed or deported once they get a bona fide until their process is completed. A decision is made, it's an approval. Well, guess what? Removal is terminated by an operation of law. No more removal. Once your T visa is approved, no more removal. You just have to notify the court. That's it. So the BFD goes a long way to help protect people who are going through the process. And then, even upon approval of the T visa, the process stops and they don't have to worry about being deported. Rather, they get their 4 year work permit, 4 year status, and then are able to pursue the green card after that. All right. So now I'm heading on over to Instagram, and then I'm going to do YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. Hi, can I apply for adjustment of status while working in the USA on an extension using I-797? So I-797 doesn't tell me much because that's usually just a notice provided by immigration. Um, what are you working on though? Are you talking about an H-2B visa that you're on? If you are on a current status, unless you're on crewman's or a J1 that has a 2 year foreign residency requirement, you may be able to do adjustment of status while still working. But do you qualify for adjustment of status? How long do you have to wait? Okay, so H-2B. So I'll give you this situation. If you're on H-2B and you're married to a US citizen here, then you could, yes, absolutely, you could still pursue adjustment of status while you're on the H-2B and then get the green card. That's fine. So that's a possibility if your spouse is a US citizen. If your spouse is a green card holder, that's still a possibility, but you have to be wary of your priority date to ensure that you don't apply for adjustment of status earlier than you are allowed to, based on your priority date. Okay, so you schedule the consultation, and we have very specific attorneys. So our attorneys are listed there, and you will speak to one of our attorneys at the firm. And I work very closely with them, so they will give you the same advice as I would. Um, can I apply without marriage? Yes, we also help with that, but it depends on your situation. When we're talking about without marriage, there's so many ways. I would say Remember, there are over 21 ways to be able to get your green card here. But the question is, do you qualify for any of those ways? One of those ways is through marriage, right? The rest of them, do you qualify for those? And as you can imagine, we would have to talk to you to see what you qualify for. What's your situation? Are you here on a visa? Are you outside of the US? Have you overstayed? Did you enter the country without inspection? What's your education? What's your relationship to citizens or residents here? There are a lot of questions that we have to be able to get to be able to come down to which option without marriage would work for you. Can an adult immigrant be adopted by a US citizen to get their papers? No. In order for adoption to work, you have to show the US citizen has to adopt before the child turns 16. So that age is going to be very important. I married my I-130 has been approved, but my wife not with the situation anymore. But I need to file adjustment of status and work permit. That's exactly what we help with this situation. And this situation that you're talking about, our client who just got her 10-year green card went through that situation. And so we helped her to be able to change the process to another process where she could apply on her own. But we have to find out what's the situation in order to determine whether you qualify. Should one admit that she worked authorized filing for a marriage, unauthorized, so worked authorized filing for a marriage-based green card if he did? Great question. And it's an important question. Now, a lot of people think that they must they must put that they did not work on their application. And in some cases, you can never should never lie. You should never lie. They have ways to find out. For example, your employment may be a part of public record. You tell this lie about not working here when you did, that can result in what's called misrepresentation or fraud. And that comes with a permanent bar. You can apply for forgiveness, but keep in mind you would enter an uncertain situation. Now, here's where I say it can be a tragic situation if you don't know. And this is why it's so important to have an attorney, because the attorney would be able to advise you. When you are an immediate relative of a US citizen and you have been here working, even if you overstayed your visa, you are still able to put, yes, you worked unauthorized and still get approved. And that's because in the law, nobody makes this up, right? Nobody has the authority to say otherwise. The law, INA, Immigration and Nationality Act, says that when an immediate relative of a US citizen has worked here, even unauthorized, they get a pass for that, right? Meaning it will not be held against them for approval. Just like the overstay would not be held against them. Same with working without authorization. However, if this is where it's important to get legal advice because you have to understand, we have to understand the context, right? If you worked without permission and you were coming into the country, did you state that you weren't coming to work, then you immediately started working? Those can have implications as well. And you need to understand that. And as an attorney, we stand by for any issues like that so we can jump into action. Can you still get your papers in the US if they have a felony? So that definitely would depend on what the felony is and what the outcome of the case is. It may be possible because there may be waivers as forgiveness available, but we have to evaluate anything to do with criminal offenses. You need to make sure that you get personalized legal advice. We have to look at what happened, what was the charge, what was the statute, what is the law saying about it to be able to break it down and determine what the consequences could be, whether it could even result in inadmissibility, or whether or whether you're going to need or not. It could not, right? But when it gets to the point of felony, yeah, we definitely need to analyze that. How can I schedule an appointment to talk to you? So we have dedicated attorneys here, Attorney Bria, Attorney Diana, and we work very closely together. We all have the same mission, and we're very experienced. So we want to make sure, so you can schedule with them. You can go to the link in the profile, schedule your own appointment, call the office. We're 24/7. I'm going to put my number in the on Instagram in the comments, so you see it. I'm immigration lawyer. Sure, you find the comments. That's our phone number. We are 24/7. We have opened our lines to be able to talk to individuals. If you're thinking about us 3 in the morning, give us a call. Thanks for the compliment, Miss Livingston. I appreciate that. Um, can I apply without marriage? To answer that, I'm just going through. Okay, I have a friend that is married and the spouse doesn't want to start the filing process. She doesn't have any money to start, and he doesn't want to give her the money to do so. And they're married. So, absolutely, this is definitely one of the situations that we work with here. She has to explore the options to move forward on her own. So, she can always give us a call and start with an initial evaluation, because what this spouse is doing, I don't know any spouse. I don't know any spouse who has your best interest at heart, who would not apply for you to get your papers to be stabilized here, especially with what is going on here. And so that in itself is a big red flag for mistreatment and abuse. If your spouse is using the immigration process to control you, that is abuse. And you do qualify in this case for VAWA. So she really has to move forward with a process. She can always reach out to us, and we can do an evaluation to determine whether she qualifies for this and move forward without that spouse's knowledge for her protection. I got my approval notice on Monday. Congratulations. I'm so glad to hear that. So I am doubly happy today. And guys, once again, that is just a testament to the fact that people are getting approvals. We're getting approvals here, and we are forging ahead, and it's working, right? Because we are basing our the applications, our legal representation on the law. Our clients qualify, we move forward based on what is written in the law. And it shows that immigration and USCIS, they are making those decisions based on what the law says. What happens after someone applies for VAWA by your spouse while the spouse files for divorce? Nothing. No, that's also a benefit. If your spouse files for divorce, that divorce does not affect the VAWA. You do have to update them on the divorce, of course, but it will not stop the VAWA from moving forward. No, keep in mind that if they divorce before they file the VAWA, they have 2 years to apply. So very important that you keep that deadline in mind. After buying a business for E2 visa, can I employ my family members? Also, they are Canadians. Yes, that's a possibility. So keep in mind, if you have immediate family members, like a spouse or children, they can get the visa with you and come here to go to school and work. If they are extended family, so say cousins, then that is a possibility as well. You just have to make sure that they qualify, as employees of the company, in order to get the E2. Uh, what is the wait time for work permit renewal for VAWA? I would say 6 to 12 months. Keep in mind there is an automatic renewal that you can use while you wait. If you have VAWA filed for so long waiting with no result, can I still file for another one since I have a business now under my business? So this is iffy, because if you've already overstayed and you don't technically have a status, then it gets hard to apply for the business visa. You can pursue other options that you qualify for, but there would be a question about your status here. Okay, so I answered that. All right, so now I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Hello there, I see you. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Hi, Tia. You can always talking to the attorneys here at SC Law Office is just like talking to me. We all have the same values here and the same mission. We're very passionate about what we do. So give us a call, and the attorneys here would definitely talk to you. Can you file change of status before getting approval for I-130? It depends. Do you qualify? It's possible, but do you qualify? No, keep in mind before, okay, so I think because in my world, change of status means something else. So I think you're referring to adjustment of status. Adjustment of status before the approval, yes. If you qualify, if you're going by a priority date, is your priority date current, or is it time to file for the adjustment of status? Or if you're the immediate relative of a US citizen, you can file that adjustment of status before the approval of the I-130. With the timing of filing the adjustment of status is based on the I-130 petition. I mean, the priority date, right? If a priority date applies to you. I'm married with US citizen, but don't want to do the papers. What could be done for this case? So if your spouse is not applying for the papers, that's a big red flag for mistreatment, and I usually need to ask more questions. The attorneys here at SC Law Office will ask more questions to determine whether VAWA will be the option for you. VAWA allows you to move forward without that spouse. But I'm so sorry that's happening, and that has to be stressful. But give us a call. That's why we're here. We're here to help. My wife is a green card holder. I'm in Jamaica. The case is 1 year and 10 months. Is that normal? No approval? Yes. I would say a little over a year, year and a half. And especially now with them slowing down to do, more screenings. Yes, that I wouldn't say that's out of the ordinary, unfortunately. All right, so I'm seeing TikTok lighting up, so I'm just gonna answer more questions here again. Let's see. Thank you so much for the gifts, the likes, the love. I appreciate it. How long is I-601A waiver taking? About 2 years. Does an unused B1, B2 visa affect the immigrant visa interview? It shouldn't. If you have no violations under that B1, B2, it shouldn't. Got a call from USS to go back next week to sign a pending I-130. My interview was Friday. So it depends. I don't know. I don't know the details of your case. I don't know what you are asked to sign. But in this case, if you have an attorney, make sure you're talking to your attorney about it and bring your attorney to that interview. Because yeah, that's not, while that may be something that they need. I have never seen that before where they've called back any of my clients to sign anything. But maybe their signature was missed. Maybe it's an adjustment of status. Sometimes they have my clients sign the adjustment of status application, and maybe that's what happened. But I am not your attorney. I cannot make assumptions. I don't want you to take action based on the information I'm giving. You need to get specific legal advice. I have my work permit already from my asylum, but it's been over a week and no social. So you may need to contact Social Security office, go down there and get it. Are you an attorney? Yes, I am an attorney practicing for almost 12 years now. Um, so absolutely. I am barred in Florida and Minnesota, and yeah. They called me from USCIS to go back next week to sign a pending. Okay, so I answered that. How long I need to wait for asylum decision after USCIS interview? It's been 21 days today. So, usually you're looking at anywhere from the next day to, and did they give you a date to return? It doesn't sound like they gave you a date to return for the interview, for the results. But you could be looking at a day to even up to 4 months for a decision. How long I need to wait for my asylum decision after, so I answered that. What if a person get their travel documents to travel? Can they travel to the home country? It depends on, do you understand the risk? As long as the clients fully understand the risk that they are assuming when they travel, and it's worth it for them, then then at that point, who's to change their minds? But to understand your risk before you do anything like travel out of the country. Because keep in mind, even though this is rare, they are detaining green card holders at the airport. So can you imagine you have a measly travel document? The kind of discretion they have could raise and increase, risk. I received in mail saying that my citizenship application was received. How long after they call? So citizenship, I would say expect 2 to 6 months, maybe a little longer with how things are going with fraud detection and screening. But I'd say the process is about 2 to 6 months. How long I need to wait for asylum? So I answered that. Um, It has been a month after I-130 approved, but the I-485 is still pending. When will we hear about it? So I've seen them take sometimes months. Um, did they have everything? Do you want to make sure that they have everything? You might be getting a request for evidence instead if there's something missing. Usually I-485, I would say this, you have an approved I-130, that's great. That's probably one of the bigger hurdles. I would be concerned with an I-485 taking long for a decision because have they found an issue in your background that renders you inadmissible? Is that why they're taking that long? Keep in mind, sometimes it's just a process that they have to go through. Maybe they're doing extra background checks, but if there are no issues in your background, you shouldn't be worried, and it's just a matter of time. And you can always touch base with them if they take more than 4 months to make a decision. Why are I-601A waivers taking so long? This is so frustrating. And the whole purpose of this was to be able to reunify families as soon as possible. But as with everything that's backlogged, there are millions of cases that are backlogged right now, and it's just going to get worse. Um, how long I need to wait for asylum decision? So it could be a day, it could be 4 months after. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Um, Yes, so if you are in removal proceedings, yes, you can request virtual hearings. That is a possibility. It really is up to the judge, but it is possible. Can I attend interview with my spouse? If you, yeah, in many cases, they do, if you want to go to the interview with your spouse at the embassy, they do allow that. Absolutely. Um, My stepdaughter was scheduled for an interview, but not my spouse. If my spouse goes along with both. So follow the instructions. It should just be whoever is there. Your spouse can try to attend as if the stepchild is a minor, the spouse can attend as support, but keep in mind that, is that advisable from a strategic point of view? That is really a question that should be answered in a consultation or with your attorney. But because your spouse and your stepchild, they're going through two separate processes, they're going to be scheduled for different interviews. Okay. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I really appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow. Well, no, today's Friday. So I'll be back on Monday where we can answer more questions. I say in the meantime, like, subscribe, follow. Um, Make sure you are doing that so you can get notification when I come on and you can hop on and ask your questions. Thanks again, everybody, for your time. Please take the weekend, if you can, to recharge, and let's always move forward with faith, prayers. Let's be solution oriented. That is where success lies. Thanks again and have a good weekend. Bye bye.